So it was a little bit too much for me. And I even thought about quitting. I said, I don't want this. I said, I can find myself a different job that will have less requirements for me, right? I don't need to do what they're asking me. I can go to another company and just do my 4 ceremonies, the daily, the planning, the review, and the retro. And it's going to be less stressful.
What a rough start. Today, I'm sitting down with Zahava to talk about the hidden struggles of Scrum Masters. Join us as we delve into the challenges that make Scrum Masters want to quit, offering invaluable insights, expert advice, and inspiring stories of resilience. Zahava is a former accountant turned Scrum Master who faced overwhelming challenges and contemplated quitting her new role. Less than a year later, since she started my mentorship program, I am extremely happy to see Zahava feeling more confident than ever, not only crushing it in her job, but also enjoying the ride. Let's hear her transformational story. Hey everyone, it's Daria here. Welcome to the Agile Audit, a podcast where we sit down with your fellow colleagues to talk about the real-life Agile and Scrum, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Hi Zahava, very nice to be able to speak with you today. And I know that we met already, kind of getting ready for this call and to talk really about your journey as a Scrum Master and of how did you get where you are. And I know you brought some good questions for me. Let's jump in.
Yes, I did. And I'm very excited. I always love these coaching sessions with you. So I do have a couple of questions for you. One of them is I've been already working with a team for, as you know, it's been almost 7 months. Now I was assigned for another team. And it feels a little bit overwhelming because this team, the one that I was assigned to, is very new to the Scrum framework. They had before me 2 other Scrum Masters. So this team been going through a lot, and I already see a lot of things that can be improved. Maybe I would like your guidance on how to do it correctly, not to just jump in and start improving. Because I feel like there's so many, already have a vision what we could have improved. So what do you think?
So like the kind of the situation you're in as you have a lot of ideas of what you can change. And now you're like, okay, where do I actually start to not overwhelm the team, right?
Yes. I want to be more supportive to them, and do these changes together, right? Make them feel like we're doing this together. Bring up these issues that I observe and I see that can be improved and together and kind of work on this together. But maybe we're still new to each other, so I'm still giving this time to get to know each other, build that trust between us. What would be from your experience, recommendation to do it correctly, to start actually implementing these changes? Yeah.
Well, generally, I think, people don't like change, that we know. They're kind of getting used to they're in the comfort zone, even if it's maybe not the best situation, right? I think the best is kind of to go a bit with the flow of what the team needs right now. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure you see some kind of red flags in there and you want to jump in and change that. But sometimes maybe if the team doesn't feel that there is such a big issue, if you do change it, right?
Yeah.
It actually kind of goes, they're starting to get a bit scared, thinking that, we're going to change everything. There are some things that maybe I like how they work, right?
Yeah.
And I think what people really want, especially from people like us who are coming in or kind of observing, what they really want from us is someone who can understand really what is going on with their teams, and someone who doesn't just jump in and tries to apply an approach, like, kind of a Band-Aid that you would apply to everything, but instead someone who is coming in and tries to really understand how they work, why they work that way. And when you understand this, then it will be easier to make changes, because people will know that you're not just making changes for the sake of changes, but for them, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So any recommendations on what questions I can, I'm sure some done already one-on-one with a couple of them teams member, but I would like to continue having one-on-one with everyone in the team. What are some questions that you'd recommend that very necessary to ask?
Well, what have you asked so far? Kind of what is some information that you found?
So I like to first get to know them, right? Ask even just personally about family, where you're from, just, to have that connection first. And then I'm just asking about the history of what do you know about Scrum, what do you like even about your previous Scrum Master. Maybe I'm giving them some ideas, what I think about the team, anything from your side that you think are very important questions to ask.
You want to create the connection, so that's great that you're going with those questions, kind of, hey, I'm here, just tell me about yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the next would be a good question that I really like to ask, because people like to talk about themselves, is what do you do on this team? Kind of what is your role? Why, what is the value that you're bringing? Tell me more about what you know, your expertise, what kind of questions I can come to you with, just to understand how they see their role as well, right? Because what might happen is that someone thinks that, oh, I am the person who makes decisions on this part. And then you talk to other people and they have a different vision. So you can immediately see some disconnects, right? And that can help you with that.
Suggesting to ask them what's their role in the team, right? On what they think about themselves, what's their value in the team. What value they're bringing. Okay, that's a good approach. That I feel like there's so much to work with the team, but I want to take it slow. I feel like there's some pressure from management, from leadership, that they're expecting you to come in and they know that there's so much to fix with this team. They're telling me, Zahava, you're gonna be in this team and this is like a whole mess. So I have that little fear that they're looking at me and expecting me to fix everything, but they need to understand that it takes time to improve and change, right?
And I think you raise a really good point. Management sees the problems and they're like, okay, we know that we can bring in the Scrum Master to help us. And then they have the expectation that you will magically fix everything in 2 weeks.
No, yeah, so it doesn't work like that. It takes time. To this point, I also want to ask you, when it comes to me as a Scrum Master, I think it's very important to have performance metrics, because that gives me and the team and also management an idea where we stand, how we're progressing, right? How we're improving. So from your experience, what would be the best metrics that you use on a daily or even by end of the sprint to see the progress of the team, right? There's different metrics. Which one are your favorite ones that help you?
That's such a kind of a hard metric, because for me, the best metrics are actually very qualitative. So I cannot really put a number on it and say, hey, we're improving. It's sometimes hard, because how do you actually show to your managers that you're doing a good job? The easiest one is usually velocity and things like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We don't like that outside of the team. But I think there's some things around the team morale. I think that's something that you can definitely at least see yourself, kind of how does the team feel, right? If they have been maybe demotivated and after you have been working with them, they feel a bit more enjoying what they're doing with the team. Have you ever tried collecting on any of the happiness metrics and things like that with the team?
So this is something that we have discussed, but I haven't started it yet. This is something that I would like to bring into the new team. Have these metrics that you've mentioned. So tell me about it again. How to
do this?
Yeah, let's say you use it in retros usually.
Well, retros is, I guess, a first thing that you can start with, right? That would then be very connected to the end of the sprint. So it will be whatever happened on the last day of the sprint, this is how people will actually vote. Maybe the whole sprint was great, and then on last day maybe they were not able to deliver, so that will impact kind of the whole thing. But you want to see the progress throughout the whole day, and so there's this tool that's called Nico calendar. And what you do, but it doesn't matter how it's called, right? What you can do is actually just every day collect from 1 to 5 the mood from the team. How are you feeling today? Like every day, everybody gets like puts a number or a smiley face, and so that actually shows you the flow of how the team feels every day. And so if you maybe see that the team is doing fine, and then there's like a dip on, I don't know, middle of the sprint for some, everybody is not really feeling that great all of a sudden. So you
Yeah.
will be able to see it during the sprint as well.
It's actually going to be very helpful because we can know how the team feels if there's something that is coming from management that they didn't like the way someone treated them as a team, right? So they can speak up, we can talk about it. So this can be a starting a conversation.
You work in like mostly online with your team, or are you? I know that you're in the office today.
Yeah, so I it's hybrid, but my whole team, they're all working online from online.
Okay. I remember when we were talking about, like, I think one of the challenges, right, that you had to deal with, and I don't know if still the challenge that you're dealing with right now is that the team is so spread out, so it was hard to even find the right time to have meetings.
Yes, that was one of the things. So when it was nighttime for some of the team members, it was morning for the others, and it was hard to put the end of the sprint ceremonies because there is frequent that we need to have the ceremonies, right? First, it's important to have the sprint review because we're analyzing together with the stakeholders and with the team what has happened during the sprint. After that, we should have our retrospective just between the team to speak up about how it went, what went wrong, right?
Yeah.
And then when we completely finalize the sprint, then we start a new sprint in the planning. So it was hard to put all these meetings in the morning, right, to accommodate everyone. Just recently, after like 7 months, we were able to finally, and we kept going back and forward, moving the meetings from different days, different times. And finally, the team agreed to have them early in the morning and have all three meetings in that sequence. First, we're going to have the review, close the sprint, then have the retro to talk about how the sprint went, and then finally start a new sprint in the planning.
Yeah. And so you're right now doing it like in one day, kind of
Yeah.
in the early morning? Okay, yeah. Because
Yes.
I remember that you had to like put the review at a different day, and it was like
Yes.
24 hours away.
Right, and the team was saying we don't see any value. Why we even the sprint finish? Why we need to have that sprint review a day after we close the
Yeah,
sprint? It
it's
doesn't
too
make
late.
sense. Yeah. So it really made sense when me as a Scrum Master, I really understood the value of that meeting for the team. I told them, team, we must have that before we close the sprint so we can discuss with the stakeholders all our dependencies, all the blockers, any issues that we have. It should be before we close the sprint, and then have a retro between us to discuss, right? More personal. So the team agreed and they saw more value in it and it worked out.
So how is it going right now? Do they like everybody's enjoying this so far at least?
Yes. Yeah, well, actually, it just started last week. So I also told the team, it's still not consistent, but it's going to happen. We still weren't sure how to do the sprint review with the stakeholders. It was new for everyone, but we actually got a good feedback from the stakeholders. They came and it was very transparent. We opened Jira. We still had a couple of carryovers and we just discussed everything as we would have discussed with the team. We also discussed it with the stakeholders and they were very happy how transparent and we were, and there were a couple of decisions that we made right there that the stakeholders helped us with their feedback, and the team did a live demonstration of what we have built during the sprint, and the team liked it a lot. They yeah, it was a good value for them.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's a good story and I guess motivation for other Scrum Masters who are like right now struggling with having sprint reviews.
Yeah, because the team didn't have sprint reviews, but the team didn't even have a Scrum Master before. For that team that I have working already for 7 months already, they didn't have a Scrum Master before. It was a new team that was built, and the product owner was doing both roles. The team was very small, but now that the work has started escalating, they brought me the Scrum Master, and the team has grown. New team members, the team is now big. Having a sprint review was very helpful for the team, right? To stop our work and review, analyze, right, what was done during the sprint. So that was something that I'm proud that as a team we've accomplished. But now I have a lot of work to do with the other team. So.
Yeah. Did you already do like a review and assessment of what's going on in this other team that you're working with?
Not yet. This is what actually I would like to do. To sit down and actually write, right? This is what you mean to have that assessment of where the team stands and where we should. Yeah. How long do I need to have that assessment? When should I start seeing improvements? Do I need to have reports for myself? Where we're improving? Like from your experience, how do you use this assessment report?
So I generally like to spend at least like from 2 weeks to a month to really look into how the team is working. At least one full sprint that you want to go over and just observe instead of maybe jumping into a sprint retrospective and facilitating it. You just let them do it and observe what's going on. So I'd say a few weeks. Honestly, I think that that's a reasonable amount of time because obviously you want to see how they work. You want to meet with everyone on the team, kind of to chat with them to figure out what's going on, what kind of problems they're facing, right? And then this assessment, I use it not only for myself, but actually as something that I can then talk about with the team, right? So I'll have like a presentation and I would do a quick presentation to the team saying, here are a few things that I have noted. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Here are maybe the biggest challenges that I have identified that I want to help you resolve, right? Because that's what really is happening. That's why you're there.
Yeah.
And often that actually also creates trust with the team because it shows to them that you have understood really what the challenges they're facing, because you will most likely highlight all of the things they're already aware of.
And I feel this team in particular really appreciates when I really trying to help or understands them, right? That we build a connection like that. They're really thankful. They're like, oh, good. Now as a team together, we're going to work, because they feel there are problems that needs to be resolved. And they feel like I'm this external person now coming in and I'm not against them. I'm not managing them or anything. I'm just like a friend, a team member. We're working together, to improve. So I think we're going to have a good collaboration. And if I'm going to have that assessment together, we can analyze these issues that they're having and work on them.
And I think that will help you identify, I guess, where to start as well. As you say, well, it can get very overwhelming at the beginning. There's so many things that you see. And so when you put it on paper, it kind of lays it out, right? Gives you some structure.
Yeah, and you're not overwhelmed all over the place where to start. So this is a good point. Thank you, Daria. I'll definitely do that. I started with this team just 2 weeks, and there's just so much going on in the company right now that I still didn't get the chance to sit down and write down these things that we would like to improve as a team.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a good starting point.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, actually I did, because last time we talked, I think we had a really good conversation, or getting ready, like preparing for this talk here today. And one of the things you mentioned at that time, you were saying that there is one important point, is that when you're coming into the company, right, you were hired as a Scrum Master, specifically for the role of a Scrum Master, but once you joined, there's much more that actually was needed. Right. And then you're talking about how every company has a different set of kind of requests and expectations that come with the role as well. And that you quickly had to jump on so many other different things and kind of start putting on other hats as a Scrum Master to help not only just one team, but the company as a whole. So I'd like you to kind of talk a bit more about that, what your experience was.
From my previous experience, I felt like a Scrum Master has some responsibilities. And then when I joined this new company, it was so overwhelming because they had other expectations that I didn't expect, right? And it was very scary to me. I couldn't perform very good. I thought there was something that I'm doing, that maybe I'm not a good Scrum Master, right? I kept comparing myself that in the company there's maybe better Scrum Masters. So it was a little bit too much for me. And I even thought about quitting. I said, I don't want this. I said, I can find myself a different job that will have less requirements for me, right? I don't need to do what they're asking me. I can go to another company and just do my 4 ceremonies, the daily, the planning, the review, and the retro, and it's going to be less stressful. But then I told myself, let me even analyze myself. I took a break, and then I said, how can I improve to be a better Scrum Master and accept their expectations from me? I started having meetings with leadership. I took the initiative to come up to them first and ask them, what is your expectations for me? Me as a Scrum Master, I know I just work with my team, right? I work with them as a coach, right? As a guide. We're working together and improving, reaching our sprint goals. This is my responsibility as a Scrum Master. Be transparent with me. I asked the directors, the leadership to be transparent with me. What are their expectations? Because they started firing Scrum Masters here, saying you don't do your job right. So before someone came up to me and fired me, I came up to them first and I told them, tell me, what are you expecting from me, right? As a Scrum Master here in this company. And I'm willing to take your requirements and expectations and work on them and be it, right? I don't want to quit. I want to do it. So, part of the things that they asked me was, first of all, I was supposed to coordinate releases, right? Something that usually Scrum Master don't do. Was supposed to work more like a project manager, be more involved in the technical issues, right? And get teams together, where this is something that Scrum Master do, but they expected me to be a little bit more involved into, because from my previous experience, a Scrum Master doesn't really need to know the technical things. The developers having their issues, they should work these issues between themselves, between the developers. Now I needed to learn all these technical words to show them that I know what they're talking about, right? To be more involved. So it was something new to me. So I took it upon myself to work together with leadership and meet their expectations and grow my skills, right? One of the things that I needed to work on myself was public speaking. Here in this company, they're expecting from the Scrum Masters to facilitate everything. Everyone is sitting, with their hands like that and expecting the Scrum Masters to host all the meetings and lead all these conversations. So that was also a little bit, maybe personally for me, was new to me. So I had to work on my public speaking skills, on communication, right? I was supposed to come to meetings and lead. I understood that I'm the one that's leading this conversation, right? So that was another thing. I needed to come with confidence and believe in what I say. Because if you believe in yourself and you know what you're talking about, your team will respect you and you're going to have mutual respect and you're going to together work on any issues or discrepancies that we have. So these are the couple of things that I needed to work on to succeed in this role in this company.
A lot of those extra, skills that come up and that maybe we don't really think about, right? Originally, when we think about the role of the Scrum Master.
Right. So from your experience, what are you working as a Scrum Master, what are your roles that you usually do on a daily for your team?
Well, now that you're talking about that kind of public speaking part, that definitely kind of light a little bulb for me as well. Maybe not necessarily like public speaking as in front of a TEDx speaker. But it's more about really be present. And that's true that right now I'm working with a team and they really are looking to me to help them really facilitate those meetings, like be productive in the meetings. So you have to put yourself out there. You have to kind of stand in sometimes and, be the one to sometimes ask questions and just be able to lead. And often it's so, I don't know if that is something the same for you, but for me, that kind of improvisation that has to happen basically every time. It is a lot sometimes, like I sometimes jump on a meeting. I'm like, I don't really need to lead it because like the product owner is leading this one. And then someone in the middle of the meeting is like, oh, Daria, what do you think? Yeah. And then, and they're like, okay. I hope I was listening correctly, understood what they were talking about.
Sure.
So you have to like be able to improvise and come up with the right questions and be able to
Yes.
jump on into a discussion, sometimes a bit more technical. I mean, not
Yeah.
as a developer, of course, they're not asking for that, but
Yeah. You know what helped me with in this? I used to, when I started with this company, I used to join the meetings just because. So there was a meeting, I would just join. But then I understood that every meeting has a purpose. Okay, nobody's wasting their time. If I'm joining a meeting, we need to get something out of it. So first of all, I started working on my skills. I started taking courses on project management because you need that skill too. I'm not a project manager, but you need to have these skills of a management, right? So I started joining meetings with the mindset of what's the goal of this meeting? What are we trying to get out of it? And then automatically I would listen and I would have questions because I want to understand what's the point of this meeting that we're having.
Yeah.
And it's very important to be present, ask the right questions, because you as a Scrum Master, you need to do that little research, right? Have these notes. What did you get out of every meeting? It was important for me to work on that skill, to be involved in these meetings and really understand what the team is talking about during the meeting, right? Because you at the end of the day, everyone finished talking, but you're going to be the one that's summarizing. Okay, team. So this is the conclusion. Please, you need to meet and right. You need to be put together the action items. You understand? So
help others to actually get it all together, because sometimes people are like, okay, well, this is the end of the meeting. I'm like, well, wait a minute. What are the next steps?
Exactly.
Right, to kind of keeping everyone on track.
Yes. So I would definitely recommend that helped me a lot also take coaching sessions with you, right? Because you're a professional that's been in this role for a long time. So discussing these things, you can continuously need to improve. Just like you're trying to improve your team, you yourself need to improve yourself. Your skills, you gotta better your skills, right? Have a mentor. For me, you were my mentor that helped me. Every time I came up to you with a new issue that I was having, and you gave me that confidence, things that I was insecure about myself. Yeah, we spoke about it, so it was very helpful. I would definitely recommend to have a mentor that's helping a Scrum Master along the way, and having some courses too.
I think that's a good kind of segue. You talked about some of the insecurities that where we were talking about while we were having the mentorship sessions, and one of the topics that we often came back to was that kind of confidence. So I wanted to ask you about that confidence, and kind of what does it mean for you in this role, and like how do you even develop it,
So that was one of the challenges. When I became a Scrum Master, I didn't even think. I changed my career from an accountant to a Scrum Master, and I've never in my life thought that I'm going to need these skills even the most basic thing, confidence. Because working as an accountant, all you do is just on your computer. You're like the developer, right? You don't need to talk to no one. You're just doing your job. And then when I started working as a Scrum Master, it's like a leadership role, because you're leading your teams, right? You're coaching them. The people look up to you, right? You're not a manager, but you're there to lead the team. That's all, right? So it was scary to me that first time working with a team, and I understood that first I need to accept myself, believe in myself, and only then the team will trust me, and like I said, have that mutual respect with me. So building my personal confidence, I stopped comparing myself to other Scrum Masters, and I said, let me be laser focused on my skills, how I can be better, right? Not sit and cry that I'm not a good Scrum Master, but what can I do to be a good Scrum Master? So I started reading books, watching YouTube videos. I started, taking sessions with you. I took Udemy courses that very helpful, right? Because there's a lot of courses that you can take on public speaking, on even technical, like the developer. I started researching the developer terminology to be more involved with them. So that started building up my confidence, right? And that helped. My voice even became more confident when I was talking to the teams in meetings, right? So that helps a lot when you work on yourself and improve every day. That helps.
That's great. I'm pretty sure we're going to get some questions in the audience about the courses that you took. So I think I'm going to ask you for some extra links, that we can add into the show notes.
I will. Yes. I have a lot.
That's good.
Every issue that I had, instead of complaining about it, I was right away going in and researching and seeing how I can improve that. That really helps for any Scrum Master, because as an accountant, you didn't really need these skills, So that's good.
I think there are some skills that you don't realize that you need until you're actually kind of thrown into that on the job. Because even people who are hiring you might not actually know what skills you need.
True. That's why they want people with experience. They want people with confidence, that they know what they're. I remember when they hired me here, the manager was the company here is very fast paced, right? And they did not have Scrum Master. It was after the pandemic, and this work started escalating. So they thought, we're gonna bring Scrum Masters, and they're gonna fix all our problems here. As soon as I came, he didn't even ask me questions. He just told me their problems, and they said, please just come and you're gonna help us. You already know what you're gonna do, right? And it was such a big it was big on me, right? I'm saying people relying on me, so I need to come and make these changes. Though it felt a little bit overwhelming, but with time, everything got better. Yeah.
I think another question I had was about, so you were an accountant, right? And you became a Scrum Master, and I'm pretty sure people would really like to know kind of how did this transition happen? How did you manage to, switch the role and get into that Scrum Master role?
Yeah, so I was an accountant for a couple of years, and I worked in good companies, only the best companies, but it was just so stressful. The busy seasons as an accountant, it was too much. I have two babies, so it was hard, and I didn't even have passion in this job. I was working as an accountant, and it felt so just the same thing every day. And then when I was introduced to Agile, to Scrum, and one of the companies that I work with, I fell in love with that way of working. And then I learned about this role of a Scrum Master, and I just loved it because it was very similar to my just personal life, right? The sprints, everything is this very frequent delivery, right? You have this 2-week sprint. We stop, we analyze what happened, we see how we can improve in our retros, right? And then we plan for another sprint. So I just loved the idea of how we work. And I just fell in love with that role. I started taking courses, and now I feel like very open. I feel like there's so many possibilities with that role, and I don't want to go back to accounting.
So did you switch into the role in that company that you worked for as an accountant?
I took some time off. And then I wanted to change my career, so I took a couple of months to study the whole Scrum role to see if I even like it, and I fell in love with it because it gave me skills that I never knew that I needed, right? That's what I mentioned. It gave me, I started learning new things that I've never knew that I needed, which is speaking up and public speaking and all these good things that everyone should have, really.
Yeah. How hard was it, I guess, to switch into that role? I know that because you were an accountant, you didn't really have like a relevant experience in the Scrum Master role.
So it was very hard. It was challenging because in the beginning I didn't even understand the point of the ceremonies. I was just doing them just because it is told to do. Right? Like Scrum Master should do the 4 ceremonies. So that was my biggest challenge. I didn't understand really the role of a Scrum Master, how I need to lead my teams. But with time, as I mentioned, as I started improving myself and learning more and more about this role, and I understood that every meeting has a value, right? Where we have our daily meetings, not just to come here and everyone's going to give their status. No, we want to make sure we have a plan for the day. we're progressing towards our sprint goal, right? I started understanding the goal of each meeting, and it became more interesting. Now I come to the meeting and everyone know why we're here, right? So with time, that challenge is.
What about the job market?
What do you mean about the job market?
Well, kind of when you were switching, right? I think a lot of people right now are struggling when they do what you do, right? So they learn about it, they maybe get the certification, and then they're like, okay, well, no one wants to hire me because I only have certification, but I actually don't have like a Scrum Master experience, right? And everybody wants someone, as we talk, right? Someone experienced already. So they kind of expect someone who comes in. And I think a lot of people are struggling to, how do I present myself to my potential employers in such a way that even if I don't have experience.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I would definitely recommend, first of all, work with agency, right? Because some companies, they don't even want to pay too much money to experience 5 years experience Scrum Master, right? Because they're going to have to pay them a lot. Some companies would just need a Scrum Master to organize the team, to do these little ceremonies, work the Agile way, right? So if you work with an agency, they can maybe find these companies that can hire you even if you don't have any experience. And you need to work on your speech, on elevator speech, on how you present yourself. You even need to present yourself to that agency. And when you have that first initial interview, you need to show them what value you bring, even if you don't have experience. But that company might love you just because of your personality, because of your motivation. You're telling them why you really love Scrum. So you really need to build that. I sat down when I was looking for a job, and I was thinking, what value will I bring? So yeah, that's very important to build that. Beside your resume, you just also need to sell yourself and what value you bring to the company.
That is a great advice. Yeah, definitely. We often spend so much time on like updating our resume and profile and getting all of the certifications, but then the real challenge comes in where you need to present yourself, and if you're not haven't worked on that,
you need to believe in yourself. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know your role as a Scrum Master. What are you going to come and you're going to do, right? So you need to research a lot, learn about it, really do that personal research for yourself, what value you bring.
Great. Well, I think it's been a really lovely conversation with you today, Zahava. Okay. I think I have one question. Last one is, what would be, I guess, one tip that you would give to Scrum Masters who are listening to us on how to become more successful,
Definitely keep improving every day. It's definitely going to be my number one tip that helped me. And when I say improving yourself is by learning every day, taking courses, mentors, and anything that work on your skills, and analyze what skills you need to be better at your job. So what do you really need to become the best Scrum Master? If you need to work on your communication skills, if you need to work on your leadership skills, if you need to work on your confidence, work on yourself. Don't compare yourself to no one, and continue just being focused on yourself. Yeah, that'll be my advice.
Awesome. Great advice. I love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming on the show. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to hear more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of the different platforms. We'll be posting the video version on YouTube and the audio on other podcast platforms. All of the links can be found below the video, or you can also go to scrummastered.com/podcast. You can also find the transcript and the show notes on my blog. And I'll see you in the next episode. Cheers and Scrum on!